Welcome to the Genius Hour, where we converse with the community to find out the stories behind Indianapolis' remarkable people and the opportunity they took to get there. I'm Natalie, and I'll be your host for today. Hello, welcome back to the Genius Hour podcast. Here I have with me Sara Durham. Did I say your name right?
Yes,
Okay. Can you just tell us a little bit about yourself, just so people listening and watching just get a little bit of background?
Yeah, I am originally from Southern Illinois. I grew up there. I went to college in South Carolina and met my husband there, and we moved here to Indianapolis about 26 years ago now. And we've lived here ever since. I've been in different aspects and working in different places in Indianapolis. I worked for National Institute for Fitness and Sport in their corporate sector. I have worked for Indiana Public Retirement Systems as an executive assistant, and now I own my own business and doing a technique called muscle activation techniques.
Oh, yes. So I had looked it up online about a little bit about that, but I was wondering if you could just tell us what muscle activation techniques, like what does that entail, like what
Yes.
goes all into that?
Oh, for sure. So muscle activation techniques is somewhat of a new modality out there in the sports exercise injury field. It fills a box that physical therapy, chiropractic does not fill. What we do is we work with anywhere from athletes to weekend warriors to I have teenagers on my schedule. What we do is we're getting muscles working, the neuromuscular response working between the muscle and the brain, making sure it's firing, and then from there usually what people end up doing is they go exercise and it feels a little bit better. It helps with joint pain sometimes, or a lot of the time. It helps people be able to get back to what they love doing, whatever it is. So.
Okay. Would you say that when you were younger and you were doing like volleyball, perhaps, would you wish you'd had these services, or did you have these services?
I did not have these services back then. Actually, this is such a new modality. It's only been around for about between 30 and 35 years. The man who started it, his name's Greg Roscoff out of Denver, Colorado. He was an athlete himself, and at 25 years old, he was playing football in college, and he didn't understand why he was hurt all the time. And then he started working as he got older and got out into his profession. He started working with NBA, NFL teams, the high-level athletes, and alongside chiropractors and physical therapists. And through learning from them and learning about understanding the body, he came up with muscle activation techniques and learned how the body operates, or how our muscular system operates to get to where he is today. So he started teaching people in the early 2000s about MAT, and I learned about it in about 2006, and from one of my colleagues who still does this today, and he worked on me. I was a collegiate athlete myself, and I was very injured after playing many, many years of volleyball at a high level, and I still wanted to keep playing. So when I was playing, I was injured all the time. I was having to work. I was in the exercise field. I was still having to teach group fitness classes and train other people. And it was kind of funny because I was like, I'm trying to teach you how to be healthy and exercise, but I'm injured myself. So my colleague taught me or worked on me a few times, and I found it amazing. Like I said, I've done chiropractic, I've done physical therapy. There's definitely a place for all of these modalities. But this just really spoke to me and helped me a lot. And I still, to this day, play sand volleyball now.
Oh, that's cool. Would you kind of like say he inspired you to go on this path?
Oh yes, definitely. He inspired me. When I first got worked on, I noticed my range of motion opened up a lot. I was still playing volleyball, and I was getting off the floor faster, and I was like, I did not, we always were taught to stretch and things like that, and I didn't stretch. I wasn't a stretcher. I didn't tell people that, but I was like, I don't understand the premise behind stretching. But when he worked on me, I was like moving a lot better. I felt like I had a lot more range of motion. available and things like that. So it was definitely an eye-opener for me, and I loved how much it incorporate the human body, understanding the human body, understanding the physics of the human body, understanding where the muscles attach. I had to understand that, and it was something that spoke to me. I really enjoyed it.
Okay. So, because you made a business out of this.
Yes.
How long would you say, like, you started, that it really got started? Like, you had customers coming in, clients, you were able to build that clientele. How long would you say that took?
I went through the classes in 2014, and in 2015, I was working on friends, neighbors, relatives, getting better at it. So I was working on people right away. I didn't charge a lot out the gate because I really wanted to get really good at it before I started charging people. I would say it took me 2 years before I started taking clients on a regular that I did not know, that wasn't through word of mouth, and it was more they found me.
Sorry. I would like to. I've heard that for like physical therapy and then like chiropractor, I've heard that some people have get hurt doing it. Have you ever have any of your clients ever gotten hurt doing it?
Not hurt. Now, here's the thing. So we are working with the neuromuscular system, the brain and muscles connection. I've had clients physically get sick on my table because when you mess with the neuromuscular system, I can't explain how it happens because I'm not understanding the full effect of what's happening with the brain when we mess with the muscle system. But if I don't do the system that was taught to me, there's definitely a way that somebody could get sick. I've never hurt anybody. Now, when people get treated, they leave, they come back. I'm like, okay, how did everything feel from week to week? And sometimes I'll be like, well, I was a little sore, but I feel better in these areas, but now I'm sore. And sometimes people come back with, well, I feel sore, and sometimes that's, okay, we got muscles working, so it could be like going to the gym for the first time, and I just lifted a little bit of weight, and I'm walking away, and you get the delayed onset muscle soreness and stuff like that. So as far as injured, no, because we're working on we have the person lying on the table. They're moving around a little bit, but yeah, no, not injured, but physically sick. I've seen that probably in my 12 years of doing this. I've seen it probably about a handful of times.
Okay. With that being said, what's the hardest part of being how do I say this? ACSM health and fitness specialist.
So that is American College of Sports Medicine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so American College of Sports Medicine. So when I first started out so I have a degree in exercise science, or corporate fitness is the actual degree from University of South Carolina, upstate. I got on with National Institute for Fitness and Sport, and one of the criteria they wanted is that you get certified, and they gave you different certifications. ACSM was one of them, and it was one of the gold standards. So I went through the ACSM training and did the test, so that's just one of the certifications I have, and I've kept it up to this day.
What's the hardest part of it?
Oh, that was a very difficult test because you have to understand testing of VO2 max, of body fat and things like that in each individual. You have to understand when people come to you with different criterias of fitness and things like that. You have to be able to decipher what is the best fitness program for them. So that's kind of what it helped you with. ACSM is pretty in-depth in making sure the person who takes that test understands all of those. There's other certifications out there, but they're not as in-depth as American College of Sports Medicine.
Okay. So I noticed when I was looking on your LinkedIn page, and I was like, man, you have a lot of skills and all these management, customer service, marketing. What were some of the jobs that you did to get all these? What were some of the experiences you did to get these skills?
Well, I would say, so when I worked for National Institute for Fitness and Sport, I was in the corporate fitness sector. So that meant that I worked for corporations in their fitness center. One of the places I started out was Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield, is now Elevance. I forget, it used to be WellPoint. So they have a fitness center on their campus. And you had 3 staff members. all staff members were in charge of different things. We did have a newsletter, but it was particular to that facility. So the members of Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield got that newsletter. So you had to be able to write newsletters. You had to be able to teach group fitness classes. You had to make sure that Excel sheets of people coming in and things like that are adding up to, and because we had to have a monthly report to make sure that how many members we had coming in to show our worth as being in the facility. We ran health fairs, so that was part of it. We had to market those health fairs at those facilities. So you had to be able to be, if you didn't know how to do it, you had to learn how to do it. And usually we had people within NIFs that understood some of these things, so they could teach you. But then if you didn't, you learn on the fly, and you make best practices and learn from those and implement them the next time.
So I know that like starting a business, and then you sometimes when our business or our clients start going down, or we just we start losing some of that motivation. Like, what inspires you to keep going? Who or what?
Well, the biggest inspiration for me is I knew from an early age I wanted to help people, and I know what I do can help people. One of the things that why I transitioned from working in fitness centers to doing this is because I didn't feel that I was getting that bucket filled with helping people in the fitness field, because there's a few factors that have to happen. The person has to be motivated. The person has to be able to show up on a regular basis. The person has to have that drive to push themselves a little bit harder. And I could do everything I want or everything I could on my end, but it basically is dependent on that person in front of you and what they're willing to do. And probably in my years of working, I worked in corporate fitness for about 14 years. I probably helped 10 to 20 people really get to where they wanted to be with their goal. And I was like, I want to work on a bigger scale. And one of the things I noticed with working in the fitness industry is people are always injured. And that was a huge factor of why a lot of people could not keep going. And they'd come to me, ask me, okay, this is hurting, what do I do? And the only thing we talked about and the only thing I knew back then was, stretch it, ice it, elevate it, things like that. And I just felt like there was a better way. And after being treated with muscle activation techniques, I was like, this is awesome. And I could see on myself how quickly it worked. I was younger, of course, then, and the older you get, the longer it takes to work. It still works. It just takes a little bit longer. But it was amazing to me, and I was like, I could see myself doing this, and I am extremely happy I made the jump, because I am helping way more people than what I was in the fitness industry, and still doing something I love.
So going at that with your passion, it sounds like you have tons of amazing passion, and I love that.
Thank you.
But I was looking on your LinkedIn, and you had your professional and your personal, and I was like, man, these are really similar. And so I was just I was wondering, because there's a saying going around don't love your job, job your love. And I was I'm wondering what's your opinion on that?
Oh, for sure. If you love what you do, you are really not working a day in your life. And that is so true. There were jobs that I've had in the past that I loved them at first. They definitely, I went into every job. I want to learn as much as I can. And once I got to that point where I learned as much as I can, and it just wasn't filling my bucket anymore, I felt like, okay, it was a job. It truly was a job. And when I got into MAT, it never felt like a job. I was actually working full time for one business, doing MAT on the side, and I was working till 9 o'clock at night some nights, and I did not want to give up doing my business, doing muscle activation techniques. Mm-hmm. So I really enjoyed doing that, and I knew I wanted to make the leap. I was nervous about making the leap because it's a big jump, but I'm glad I did it. So yeah.
What is the most stressful part of being an executive administrative assistant?
Well, the field that I was in, so I started out as an executive or administrative assistant for the same company that I became the executive administrative assistant for. When I first started there, I only had two people that I reported to, two executive directors that I had, and had to make sure that they had everything they needed, if they were traveling, if they needed things printed, if they needed anything they needed. So I learned to definitely work both, work and with a lot of tasks, a lot of responsibilities all at the same time. Then I became executive. Within a year and a half of that working there, I became the executive administrative assistant for the executive director of Indiana Public Retirement Systems. And then I became, in that position, you are basically working with all the directors and there were 8 of them. I wonder if I could, I would have to, about 8 of them. And now I'm all of their I am their administrative assistant for anything. If I'm juggling my boss's schedule, I'm juggling their schedules if they needed somebody put on their schedule. A lot of times we had administrative assistants leave. I filled in whenever the people left in the interim. So it was a lot of having to work on the fly and making sure that things were taken care of. One day I might go in and not have a lot to do, but the next day I might pants on fire running around making sure everybody had everything. I enjoyed that part of it because it kept me busy. I also got a lot of experience in different roles. I worked with our human resource outfit, so I actually got to talk to incoming recipients or incoming possible employees, and do small interviews or make sure, like, weed out who would be a good candidate for this position and who might not have quite have the qualifications to even talk with them. So things like that. And I still had to do travel. So if you've ever worked for government, it's when you work with state government, it's probably any government, but when you do travel, you have to show a lot of documentation. So it's a lot of work. It's a big process to do that. So I had to do all that on top of scheduling and things like that. So it was a great job.
So I did see that you enjoy high-paced working world, like the spaces, and I was like, man, I could really see that. Sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
I am just a little bit because, like, I mean, I want to be in the health world, and, like, she's already been in the health world for someone, and I'm like, man, I just, like, I don't want to ask, like, weird questions.
Please do.
Well, we can go to this one. What are some examples of, like, when your like bosses were, like, being really difficult?
Let's see. I would say in the past, one of the things, I guess, working for one of the companies, I had a boss who, she wasn't my direct boss. She would be a little bit of a micromanager. In some cases, instead of having my direct boss come to me with any issues she had, she would come to me directly. So she was the director of the whole field, and I had a manager over me who was over. So Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield had a bunch of different facilities all over the nation, and she was my direct boss. But whenever that was an interesting. So if I ever had a problem, I would usually go to my boss, but then my boss would go to her, and then she would come to me. So some of those things were a little interesting. I would say I knew that when I worked at InPers, when my boss was stressed out, usually it was around when we had board meetings and things like that. I knew I had to take a little bit more on my shoulders of making sure that coming in early, making sure everything was ready to go, testing equipment, because we had to actually put these things online, our board meetings online, so that other people can watch if they wanted to, or listen to if they wanted to. So I had to make sure all the equipment was ready to go, things like that. So those are some difficult situations that I've had with my bosses. But for the most part, if you have a good repertoire with your boss and you make sure you're in constant communication, everything goes smoothly.
So, Yeah, okay. Can we go? We're gonna go right back to the
Yeah,
business.
yeah,
I'm all
you're
over the
fine.
place. Sorry.
You're fine.
Matt, I really want you to ask a weird question. I'm not joking. If you have a question, then you're
Yeah,
thinking about this weird.
everything. Yeah,
Well,
anything.
I want to talk about like my business and like see what
Yeah.
her opinion is. So
Yeah.
like, I have like for our entrepreneurship class. I was trying to do a mental health app.
Yeah.
An AI app where its name's Shmai, school mental health AI, and I'm just trying to like figure out like, people's opinions on it, especially in the health world. Like what would you be looking in? How do I want to word this?
If you have a question for her, too,
Okay.
please ask it.
Well, that's interesting. I like the idea of a mental. You said it's a mental health app, like an app. That is a great idea because that is definitely needed in today's world, for sure. So, like, I would love to hear more about that.
So basically the details for that is it's basically an AI where it's kind of like a therapist or counselor, and instead of it being a person because it's an AI, you sit there and you talk to them, and there's different stuff. So it has breathing techniques. There's also mood check-in, and then there's a little button where it takes you multiple buttons, and it can there's different things you can do, like kind of like the breathing techniques and stuff like that.
Well, I think that is a great idea for an app, for sure, and giving techniques of things that they could do to get through whatever they're going through. I think that is a great idea because I think there is definitely a need for that in this world.
What was tough about it, Matt?
What? Huh?
What was tough about Shmai?
What was tough about
Like, you're
Shmai?
talking to somebody who's walked your the same path you have. So like, where did you get stuck?
I think I got stuck at the smartness of the AI. The AI is not smart.
It's not as smart. Yeah.
I have to train it or whatever.
I'm playing with that right now too. I'm playing with AI. I'm building a website. I'm on websites, but I want to build my own website and been looking into that. So I was listening about Claude is one of them, and I got on there and I just put a few prompts in and it spit out this website, and I was like, wow, that is amazing. So and then I'm finding out that Claude is not very good at building AI photos that are realistic. They do a lot of animated stuff and things like that, or character or stuff that like I'm like, yeah, I don't want that. I want something more look professional. So I went to ChatGPT and started making
That's
pictures.
my friend. That's my friend. That's who I use. Guys, that's who I use.
Yeah, so ChatGPT is really good at making realistic photos to be able to utilize instead of having to do like Adobe stock and stuff like that. So yeah, I've been playing around with that myself. So I'm learning that right now. That was something new that I've never had to.
What is your app being made for?
Well, so I'm making a website. I'm not.
Website.
Yeah, website. So for my company. So the business that I have. So right now I am my own business. I just have websites. The people who came before me. I have two colleagues that have been doing this for 20 some years, and they just put me on their website because I work out of their facilities. So I rent space from them. So they're like, well, you're here, so I'll just put you. They made a page on their website for me. So I've never done that, and so I thought this is the year I need to make the leap to start moving into fully automated my own business.
Okay. I think I'm gonna move into personal questions. If that's okay.
Yeah, totally.
I noticed that you have a son.
Yes,
Landon.
Landon. Yeah.
What made you come up with that name?
Well, that is a very good question. My husband is a huge movie buff. He can quote movies. I think he's whatever you want to call him. He's got this brain that can remember movie quotes, but he probably can't remember birthdays and stuff like that. So anyway, one of his favorite movies was Vision Quest.
Oh.
And
I
he
think I've
liked
heard
the
that.
movie, or he liked the name Loudon. And I was pregnant with Landon, and at the time, and we were driving. His family's from Pennsylvania. We were driving to Pennsylvania, and we were talking about the name, and I said, our kid's going to get made fun of if we call him Loudon. You don't hear that name at all. And I am a huge Little House on the Prairie fan.
That's what I was going to guess.
So I love Michael Landon, and he was one of my, I looked up to him growing up. I thought he was a great father, and I always thought, if I ever have a kid, I would love to name him after him. So Landon is what we came up with, and my husband's like, okay, I can deal with that. But that's how we came up with Landon.
Is he into volleyball? Perhaps
He is. He's very much into volleyball. He's surpassing me. Yes.
How do you bring fitness as a topic, and how do you teach him the proper ways to use fitness properly? Because I know that there's a way to not use it properly.
Yes. So from a young age, when I would go, I wouldn't take him when I'd work out, because I usually work out when I was at work. But when they were young, they were still in elementary school, both my son and daughter. My husband had to work late, so I went and picked him up from school, and I would, on nights that I go play sand volleyball, and I'd bring him out to the sand courts, and I'd make them sit. They'd either sit and watch me, or they'd build sand castles, whichever they preferred. And more often than not, at first they were building sand castles, but then there were other kids there, and they got a ball, and they just started throwing it over the net and started playing. They loved it. They enjoyed it. So I think the biggest thing with fitness is, exercise and fitness, is you have to enjoy it. If you don't enjoy it, you're not going to do it. And so I didn't pressure them into doing any of that. It was something that eventually they're like, oh, this is kind of fun. So in today's world, he actually will probably surpass me in fitness as well, because he is very fitness minded. He told me actually just a few weeks ago that he regretted not listening to me back when he was in high school and exercising more, because he felt like he probably could. He still plays volleyball at a high level, but he thinks he could have probably played in college, and knows that he would have enjoyed it because of how much he plays now. But he said the thing that held him back was he's a tall, skinny kid, and he didn't feel like he could keep up with the kids that were exercising on a regular basis. So, but now he can, because he exercises way more than I do.
What advice would you give? Hold on. Okay, what advice would you give that you think not many advisors or people are giving to people, especially for entrepreneurs? So what advice would you give to people that are trying to be entrepreneurs?
Oh, that is a great question. And you know what? I've thought about that so many times. One of the things I would do is get out there and find out what's out there. Like with MAT, I didn't know this was a career that existed, and I don't know the pathway to it. I would get out there, talk to people. Network is very, very important. I feel like with social media, we're losing that networking ability, being able to talk face-to-face with people. And when you talk face-to-face with people, matter of fact, all the jobs that I've ever had is because of my ability or my want to talk to people and get to know what they do, and learn about it. Case in point, when I played college ball, one of the girls on my team, she was a whitewater raft guide in the summers. And I don't know if that's probably not on my LinkedIn, but I was very interested. She brought me to the river that they rafted on in South Carolina, and I was like, I want to do this. And I would have never known about that experience, and that I had the ability to do that experience, and what I had to do to become a whitewater raft guide if I did not speak to her. And I was a whitewater raft guide for 2 summers, and it was one of the best jobs I've ever had in my life. And I made very little money doing it, but it was a great job. And then moving to Indianapolis, that was another thing, talking to people. I ended up coming to Indianapolis because I was asked, I had won the award to be an NCAA Woman of the Year for South Carolina.
Oh, I read that. I was wondering about that.
Yeah, so my coach put me up for the nomination, and I ended up getting it out of all divisions of NCAA for South Carolina, all the schools of people who submitted. I ended up getting it. Came to Indianapolis to receive the award. It was the first year NCAA headquarters had moved here. They had us do something with NIFs one day, and I was just talking to one of the ladies there, and she said, and I told her I have a degree in corporate fitness, and I would love to come work here if you have positions open. She said, definitely. Once you graduate, I had 1 semester to go, and as soon as I graduated, I submitted my resume, and they called me for an interview. So that's what brought me to Indianapolis. My husband's an elementary school teacher, so he was like, I'll go wherever you get a job. And then when I left there, I went into MAT. I was going to MAT classes, and I needed a job, and I talked to a neighbor, and she said, hey, there's this position open as an executive assistant. Our administrative assistant, and I applied, and I ended up getting that job. And it literally was just talking to people and hearing what they have, and getting to know what is out there. And for people who, like, if you have a passion, look into those things that you're passionate about. There's so many jobs within each field that you don't even know about that could be there, a possibility for you that might be a great fit.
With that being said, it sounds like you're at your goals that you wanted when you were younger. What is your future goals now that you're at this age?
Future goals, I am pretty happy with where I am business-wise.
Okay.
I do want to grow my businesses a little bit more. I want to get the word out about muscle activation techniques because I do feel it's helped me, and I still get treated on a regular basis today, and I feel I can help more people. So I also talk to young people about, hey, this is a great career to get into, and I don't see this going away ever. It keeps getting better, but with that, I'm good. I want to travel more. My kids are both, my daughter's a senior in high school right now, and she's getting ready to graduate and kind of find herself. So my husband and I are wanting to do a little bit more travel. We started last year with doing hiking trips and things like that, not locally, but within an easy drive away. And I want to do more of that and enjoy getting out there. So.
Ooh, okay. So I read that you had a family farm.
Yes.
Yeah. I technically, it's not like a farm, but my family, we have a bunch of little farm animals. We have chickens, ducks. We used to have turkeys. How did working on a small family farm like spark your interest in muscle activation?
So one of the things you do on a farm, and the farm's still in my family today, so it's on its 3rd generation. And it's fairly big, actually. We had a lot of cows. We were a dairy farm and had several acres of land.
Scared of cows.
Yeah, scary kids. The one thing about living on a farm, it's very physical. At a young age, I was carrying 50-pound bags of feed to feed calves each day. I had to, what we called feed in the holes. So when the cows got milked, they would kick if they didn't have something to do. So we'd have to actually put food in these holes that they would put their faces in and eat while we milked them. So, so very physical. You had to clean out the stalls. You had to be able to drive tractors. To drive a tractor, back then the clutches were pretty tough, so you had to be pretty strong. The other thing is, I was very competitive. I had 5 other siblings. My sister, who was 4 years older, she was running track and field. This was a funny story. She was running track and field in high school. I was 4 years younger. I was probably 6th grade. And she goes, I can run faster than you. And I was like, no, you can't. And so I challenged her to a quick 50-yard at the most sprint, and I beat her. So I was like, yep, you're not faster. So all my life, I've always gravitated towards exercise and being physical. And my older siblings were gone out of the house by the time I was old enough to like hit a baseball or softball. So me and my brother would play one-on-one softball until the ball got lost in the cornfield across the street.
Oh, dang it. let's see. Do you did you ever take your kids to the farm and have them help out?
Yes, I've taken him to the farm. My son's helped out a few times. My daughter is not into that, but yes.
Don't blame her.
Yeah. I would have loved for them to grow up to have a little bit of that. My nieces and nephews. I got tons of nieces and nephews that work on the farm today. They milk cows. They work on the tractors, they do all that stuff, and they love it. And that's part of, I think, why I became an entrepreneur myself, is because that's how kind of I was raised. My dad was the business person, even though he wasn't, we didn't look at it as a business, but it was a farm. He had to run it. And so I kind of learned early on how a business runs, how it works, how it has to work, things like that. So, yeah.
So you would say that your dad taught you a lot of that entrepreneur spirit.
Yes, for the most part, yeah. Not directly. I would say I'm more of a watch and learn type person. So I would watch and learn from afar. He never like sat us down. Okay, this is what we bought this year. This is our expenses. This is what we made and things like that. But yeah, just learning from watching him do certain things and how he talked to people. And it was mainly, I didn't realize it at the time, but that's, after looking back, that's what I would say. I probably got that entrepreneurial spirit through my dad.
Are you ready to wrap this up?
I have one more question.
Go for it.
Would you say that your dad's really proud of where you are now?
I would say he would be. He passed away a couple years ago.
Dang, I'm sorry.
Oh no, that's okay. That's okay. The one thing I would have to say, I'm sad that my dad's gone, but he lived and died the way he wanted, and I'm so happy that he lived his life to the fullest. But yes, I would say yes, he would be proud of where I am. He taught us to be very independent. I would say that's something that directly he did teach us, to try to be as independent as possible. And all of my siblings are very independent. We all have our, I have, let's see. So I guess my brothers own the farm, so they are their own business owners. I have a sister who's a business owner as well. And then, yeah, so we've all been fairly successful. So I would say yes. If he looked down on us, he would say he's very proud of each and every one of us.
Well, thank you for joining us, and this is.
And thank you for having me.
Of course,
this was awesome. I'm looking forward to hearing this.
Okay, we're good.